Our viewers, I'm SATISH. He will give us a brief history about the whole essence of this meeting today.
Bwana Shikuku, we are right now in the temple known as BAPS SWAMINARAYAN temple. This temple has a very valuable historical link to Mombasa. Just for the information of anybody who's viewing this, outside of India, this is the first temple that was built of BAPS SWAMINARAYAN temple in the whole world in 1955. Right now, since those years, we have almost about 1,200 temples in the whole world. So this is a very prime land and a very, what you might call spiritual land, where obviously, all this spirituality exists in Mombasa. Even though Mombasa is known as Wita, lakini hapo hakuna vita hata kidogo. Tunaomba mdugu na heshima tu kwa kila mtu na kwa kila dini pia. So this temple was built in 1955. Since then, in the initial stages, this temple did not look like a temple, it looked more like a building. So way back in 2012, this is about 10 years back, we did the renovations. So what you see now, what Shikuku will show you from outside, all this work has been done by the Indian sculptors, and it was brought over from India and embedded here. So it's such a beautiful piece of history for Mombasa as well. In fact, one of the skyline of Mombasa is an attraction for even tourists as well. This temple. At the same time, in the temple, we have two artis. Artis means, we perform like waking up at 7 in the morning, go and then in the evening at 7 p.m. as well. And lighting, as you know, light is meant to shy away darkness. So it's an emblem actually, and that's why we call it Aarti. So when we're doing Aarti, we are declaring all the negativity and all the darkness. And at the same time praying to God for the betterment of whole society at large, not just for ourselves. Our main principles in this temple, which is mainly from the Indian point of view, is just like as you have 10 commandments in Christianity and you have even in Quran, lots of principles. Likewise, we have that same similar principles. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not drink alcohol, thou shalt not eat meat. So, see, meat and alcohol is a complete ban here. On top of that, being vegetarian, we also have two more crosses that we cannot eat, which is onion and garlic. So anybody who's a devotee here will not be partaking onion and garlic in their food as well. And besides this, in the mornings and the evenings, we have congregation where people come in, spiritual readings take place, there is hymns that are also sung, and from time to time there are good birthdays and things like that, which are then celebrated with pomp and pageantry aside. Right now, today, the celebration is in lieu of one of the very advanced spiritual saint who's visiting the whole of Africa right now. He has just finished doing a groundbreaking ceremony in South Africa, Johannesburg, where another very big temple, just like the one in Nairobi, is going to come up in years to come by. So he's right now going through all the African places wherever there is a BAPS temple and such. And in view of that, and he's at an advanced stage, he's over 80. So for us, he's over 80 years old. The one who we might have already taken the picture, the one who came into this morning. So with that in mind, we have 2 days of celebrations going on. There's a general meeting for all the Mombasians in the evening at Navnath Manik Mahajan, and then tomorrow there will be one which is more of in-house at SHAH temple itself. So basically, the teachings of our religion, which I think everybody knows, in Indian principles and in Hindu philosophy itself, it's more a cachet that gets said, live and let live. You just go by, you do not wish anybody else harm, you always, pray for everybody's wellness and upkeep and all those kind of things. So these are the good values that are taught, and people from a very young age to a very old age, they all come, and then there are different classes that take place to nurture them into being good citizens at the same time as well. This in nutshell is what the temple activity is all about. If there is any particular questions, I can ask you why we do this or why we don't do that. Or the food, as I said, is a pure vegetarian food that we serve without onion and garlic. Well, today because it was Ekadashi, there was no rice because of what I mentioned at that time. In a month, the moon cycle, the 11th day of the moon cycle, on that particular day, we do not eat any flour or rice or any lentils or anything like that. It is actually meant to be eaten like fruits or very simple cooking so that you can spend more time worshipping God and reading spiritual texts and all those kind of things. But that happens, that's every 2 weeks in a month. But besides this, it's not just the food. Maybe, many a times, we have people from other faiths. I also belong to the interfaith committee where, Christians, Muslims and Hindus all sit together to pray for the peace on our earth, which is Kenya and world at large. And in that respect, we try and preach the brotherhood, with fellow humans. Our population is really, really bare minimum. You might be surprised to know that in the whole of Mombasa, even though you may see lots of Wahindis and such around, but we are not even more than 5,000 in the whole of Mombasa. It's that less a number, but we are quite visible as such. But at the same time, we have this principle from our so-called, our base is connected to India. And in India, we had the father of India, which was Mahatma Gandhi. Just like Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, these are people in this world who have actually achieved so much that, they preach peace and non-violence and all those kind of things. And these are the principles which we all adhere to as such.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Shikuku, and all the best, whoever leads this. Thank you.
Shout out to Mr.
SATISH. Shah.
SATISH. SHAH.
Right. And there's a greeting whereby we call everybody like Jai SWAMINARAYAN. It's just like, it's like in Muslims they say, Salam Alaikum. It's a catchphrase. Jai SWAMINARAYAN. SWAMINARAYAN is the name of the congregation that we belong to.
And why do you put chili?
Well, actually, chili is not bad for health. It's just that, with the African food, it's very bland. Indian culture goes back thousands of years. It's one of the most civilized nations. So, besides chili, there is also lots of other herbs. And these are all put to make, obviously, your food a little more tasty. Unlike the English food or the Swahili food, the maximum you put is maybe salt and pepper. So it's just, there's no other thing. And people, once they develop that taste, they also now start eating, with a little bit of, that chili and all those kind of things. So there's no other thing. The other thing also, I should mention, if you see anybody who belongs to the Swaminarayan faith, most of them you might see with this, it's known as, for many people who don't know, it's like a U-bolt, but it's known as Tilak Chandlo. And that, by a fun, it's called U-bolt. But it's Tilak and Chandlo. And what it means is that this is the feet of Bhagwan Swaminarayan, that is our God. And the red spot is like yourself, and you are prostrating in front of God with all your vices that you have. You are trying to, wish it away. So every day in the morning, we do our own puja by remembering God individually. And at that time, we put this mark in. That only is done by the maid. Females also do the puja as well, but then they don't put that thing on. So that's the only subtle difference. This is something for those who don't understand, like if you were, when you were going to school, if you belong to Alidina Vishram High School or Technical High School, when you go to school, you have a badge here saying, you belong to Technical High School or you belong to Alidina Vasim. So this is something similar. It's an identification mark as well. Something similar to that. Just as
It was an Indian celebration.
This is a Swaminarayan celebration. Okay, Shikuku.
Thank you.
Jai Swaminarayan. Thank you.